After years of scandal-plagued headlines for the Atlanta school system, there's more bad news. This time, nobody showed up for the finals.
And we'll talk to an ABC Sports executive who's very excited about NBA Finals ratings in 5 years when the Lakers are back. It's time to wake up, NBA! Welcome to Wake Up NBA, presented by the Microsoft Surface. That is Ryan Nanny. My name is Dan, and it is NBA Finals time.
You're very excited.
I am very excited. I am caffeinated. Steph, LeBron, it's all happening.
It's not the conference finals anymore, which were pretty boring.
They were pretty boring.
Sorry.
Okay, what is your big story now that we have two huge superstars facing off against each other? Where do you land with your big story?
So throughout this playoffs, we have talked about LeBron James mostly in terms of his shooting efficiency is really down.
Right.
He's missing a lot of threes.
Dominating the ball.
He's getting his points, but he's doing so in a way that's like, man, he's taking a ton of shots to get there, relying on getting to the free throw line. But what we have sort of ignored in the process is that he is having his best playoffs ever in terms of passing the ball and rebounding.
Yep.
And it's weird to think of him in that light, considering, it's not like that's new that he can do pretty much everything, but he has become, for Cleveland, the kind of do-everything player who facilitates for other players, who gets them involved in the offense. And it'll be interesting to see, A, if that continues, depending on how healthy Kyrie Irving is.
True.
And B, I think they need to stick to that because as frustrating as it can be to say, oh, he started this game, missed his first 10 shots, if it's just on LeBron, this is just going to be a redux of what we saw the first time around in Cleveland.
This is true. And yeah, LeBron, turnovers aside as well, has gotten the best out of Shump and J.R. Smith. The bigs have been playing very, very well. So an admirable effort with not a ton of top-level talent around him. My big story is Steph, and whether or not it will matter if he's a big story.
Yeah.
Because as good as he is, and he might have a really favorable matchup if he's paired against Kyrie for a majority of the time, who still appears to be very hobbled.
Limited, yeah.
Even though I think the series runs through the bigs, if Steph can give them the efficiency that he's shown at times in the playoffs, it gives them an element. I just don't think, even if he goes off for 33, I don't think that's the be-all, end-all, which is really interesting because he might still be the best player in the NBA. So I'm curious to see that matchup. What is your little story?
Okay, we haven't really focused on the coaches of either of these teams in the playoffs, largely because we haven't had to, given the players on the court. But we're going to have a rookie head coach win the NBA title for the first time since 1982. That is before you and I were born.
This is true.
But a lot of things happened before we were born because we were impossibly young.
Yes.
But, neither one of these coaches has had to deal with a team that lost game one of a playoff series. Neither one has had to deal with really being down much in a playoff series. The Warriors fell behind against Memphis after 3 games. That's it. They've never faced an elimination game.
True.
So I think there are some questions about how are these coaches going to react when inevitably one of them has their back against the wall?
By mathematics, one of them has to lose a game one.
Both sweep. This is my prediction. Both of these teams will not sweep this series. One of them might, not both.
No, and both coaches have done a great job adjusting. Obviously, Cleveland and Blatt without Kyrie for a majority of the previous series, the conference finals against Atlanta, and losing Kevin Love immediately.
Very early on,
And then, of course, Ron Adams, the defensive mastermind for Golden State, adjusting to what Memphis was doing. Did a great job, and obviously Steve Kerr had a major hand in that. So they have adjusted quite well in the playoffs. My big thing is, one, what is Steve Kerr going to do if Draymond Green gets into foul trouble early? That's going to be huge, and how he juggles that lineup. And then with David Blatt, where LeBron plays on offense. Because if he does play on the block some, he'll be unstoppable. But he likes the high screen and dominating the ball and distributing. So what sort of combination of LeBron do we see offensively?
And that may depend on, again, how healthy Irving is.
True.
Whether they want to leave him on the low post or not.
Yes, absolutely. All right, what is your big question now?
I think it's the Warriors bench because with the exception of Andre Iguodala, they don't have a bench where they're like, okay, we need to go to these guys and give them a lot of minutes. But when they've had Festus Ezeli come in, Sean Livingston come in, those guys have given them really good play on both sides of the ball. And that's the kind of thing where you look at who Cleveland's played over the course of the playoffs. They start with Boston, then Chicago, beat up Chicago, and Atlanta. And those are not teams that you looked at and said, they go 8-9 deep.
Right.
The Warriors do.
Yes, they do.
And I think that's going to be the open question of whether the Warriors can keep that up and whether Cleveland, rises to the occasion either on their bench or just asks a lot out of their starters. Because even though the Warriors don't put their guys in for a long time, they get a lot out of them while they're in there.
Right, and on that note, rebounding.
Yes.
So if you're talking about depth, and Golden State obviously is going to want to push the pace
Yep.
and wear out Cleveland and force them to be deep and react, defensive rebounding for the Warriors has been fine. It's been
Yep.
okay. They obviously play a little bit smaller. They like the spacing stuff when they're on offense, and they like running. Cleveland, obviously, slower pace, bigs who hit the offensive glass
Gobble up
really,
that
really
glass,
well.
yeah.
So those matchups, where guys are playing, can Golden State get those defensive rebounds to start those fast breaks, the 3-on-2s, the 4-on-2s? If they do, they're deadly, and all of a sudden you're down 17.
Right.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
Against LeBron, whoever. But if Cleveland's able to get those second chance points,
Yeah.
what does Steve Kerr do? Again, going back to the adjustments, does he get bigger? Does he adjust what they're trying to do on defense to
Right.
crash the board? So,
Especially because those second chance points, it feels like, are so often like,
Yes.
oh, here's a 3 from JR, here's a 3 from Shump or Dellavedova,
Right.
because you grab that rebound, you kick it out, and Golden State hasn't had time to
haven't
set up
reset,
that very
right.
good perimeter defense.
Absolutely. All right, now it is time for Where in the World with Seth and Roger. They've struggled somewhat, I would say, with the research
I
portion.
think this is their week, though.
I feel good. We gave them a very specific assignment. We want to know what the starting five for the LA Clippers are up to. Guys, take it away.
Thanks, Dan and Ryan. We did a ton of research for this one, so we're going to nail it. We'll start with JJ Redick, who is finishing up filming Sharknado 3, in which he plays a lifeguard.
Matt Barnes' production of Jesus Christ Superstar was just canceled, but he started working on a Broadway musical about a failed singer.
That's fantastic, guys. It's just so fun to hear that NBA players have all these varied interests and really get involved in a lot of different things outside of basketball. What about the other members of the team?
Oh, well, DeAndre Jordan just had a baby this spring with his wife, Jessica Biel, and they posted this adorable picture of him in a Memphis Grizzlies jersey to Instagram.
And Chris Paul is the announcer on Family Feud and the host of Food Network's Rewrapped. He's also doing Rock of Ages in Las Vegas.
Okay, guys, you are very clearly just going through the activities involving members of NSYNC.
Hold on, guys, we weren't done yet. We haven't done Blake Griffin yet.
Blake Griffin is an advocate for a number of major charitable causes, and he's the founder of the Lance Bass Foundation.
Oh wait, yeah, that's not Blake Griffin at all.
Okay, I see where the problem is.
All right, fellas.
Are we asking too much?
That was such a simple assignment.
What should we...
How did they even, when they
Let's
were
just-
looking at
no,
like
I
Jesus
just-
Christ Superstar, like,
How do you get that confused?
I don't know why we gave them this position. That was very strange. All right, thank you very much for watching Wake Up NBA, presented by the Microsoft Surface. We're here every week during the finals. We don't know how long that's going to last, but we will see you soon.